I better start the recording. So now be careful what you say. We're recording you. And the CIA and NSA are interested in what we say. So. And Chuck, is Chuck not here? Are you in charge? I guess, Dave, you will be the highest ranking officer of the club. So.
No.
You're in charge. Yeah, you're the VP.
Well, I'm not sure, Michael, do we have any announcements? I don't have the list of things that are coming up, actually.
Yeah, and I apologize. I didn't know that that was going to be a role I was going to take tonight. But I can go through a couple things here real quick if you'd like. We have,
and I've got the schedule. Do you have the schedule in front of you, Michael?
and I don't have the schedule in front of me. I know that May 4th we have our next. This will be our first competition that is a theme competition. And it just happens to be on
May 6th.
May 6th?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
I have that down. Or I'm sorry, May 4th. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm back a month.
Okay. So May 4th. And that is our first theme competition. That one will be, interestingly, that will be on, we'll say, architecture and buildings and so forth and leading lines. So kind of a combination of themes on that one. So that will be May 4th. That's a Wednesday. And so image submissions would be due the Sunday before that.
That will be, yeah, May or the 1st. May 1st.
Okay. And then let's see, 2 weeks after that would be what, May 18th?
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I didn't write down the notes for this, but we have an interesting program for that one. This is going to be one that we don't have a presenter for that one. So what we are doing is, this is submit images in a raw form and then a process form. Members will be encouraged to do that. And then during the meeting, each person who submits the raw and processed image will discuss a little bit about the image and a little bit, or I guess, hopefully maybe a couple minutes per image on what they did as far as their processing techniques and how they got to the end result. So again, a good learning experience just in terms of, post-processing and that for some of the images that people will be submitting there.
That's going to be, because of the nature of the meeting, we're going to do that as a Zoom only. We're not going to,
right.
We have the Civic Center, but we are not going to meet there just because it'll just be easier to just do it via Zoom.
And I don't have I'm thinking that the first Wednesday of June then would be a exhibition night.
Yeah, the first Wednesday of June is exhibition night. And then the 15th of June, we've got the guy that I went on safari with, it was our group leader, Jim Griggs, is going to do a presentation on video for still photographers, an introduction. And it should be pretty good because he's kind of switched from a lot of stills to a lot of videos, and so he'll help you, like everybody's camera. I mean, pretty much everybody's camera shoots video. And so help you, hey, how do you do it? How do you get yourself started? Not to go crazy full, production, but at least get you into the mood or the mindset of how you have to be, how do you do video and different things like that. So
yeah, that'll be, I was gonna say that'll be a good program for me because I have a camera that I know is very capable of shooting video. It's the Nikon Z7 II, but I think I've hit the video button on it twice, or the video.
Yeah, but about 3/4 of the way through our Africa trip, I went, wait, I was doing video with this, and then I went, wait a minute, I got a 500 millimeter on a Nikon D850. I could take a video with that too.
Yeah, I've been, like I say, I was asked to video a program about a month ago or so, something like that. First time I'd ever turned that on, so I had to try and figure out the controls on the fly, and it worked. So I know that video, the camera is very capable of taking video. I'm looking forward to that program to actually learn what people really do with those.
Yeah,
and that's all I had for the upcoming. I was just again kind of covering some of the things that we have coming up through June. So that's what I had up to now.
Well, we've got one other. Art and I, but it's to be announced because I haven't got confirmation of the room, but Art's going to do a print class. We're hoping to do it in May. I've tried to get the room set up with, it'll be a Sunday if the date comes through. But I haven't got confirmation from the city on the room, so it's a little, I can't say anything about it until we get that locked down. But so watch for that. And that will be for club members only at this time.
Okay. Well, let me do a little little introduction, and then I'll let Ed take over. I was actually on Instagram for several weeks trying to look at people's photographic style. You know, these people who, you know, you see their work and you know it's them. You know, I started with the famous people, of course, and then I was trying to find out who on Instagram had consistent photos, whether it was toning or lifestyle or whatever. And I came upon this little website, Exist to Shoot, and it was architectural, but oh my God, it was like, this is unlike something I've ever seen before. And it's Ed's stuff. It kind of reminded me of the artist Edward Hopper, especially his work on Nighthawks, the painting, the really famous painting, with the like warm and inviting tones. And so I immediately contacted Ed and said, hey, would you be interested in giving your take on architectural or urban photography? And I do so much travel, and everybody here, at least besides their love of landscapes and stuff like that, does a lot of travel. And like, how can you take these photos and make them into works of art, you know? So I'll let Ed make more of his own introductions here, and let him take it away.
And Ed, I believe I made you a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
So I don't know how to do that.
Okay, so if you look
I'm
at your,
horrible when it comes to that. So
if you look at your screen, you might have to move your mouse around, but if you go to the bottom of your screen, right in the center, there'll be a big green box that says share
it.
screen. Then you click on that, and then it'll give you, if you've got multiple monitors, it'll show you different desktops, and you just pick the one you want.
Can you
Looks
see
like
it?
you're doing There you are. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, I first of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for allowing me to do this. I've never done this before. So I really don't have anything structured or planned. I'm really kind of the guy that I don't plan much, especially when it comes to photography. But again, I want to thank you for allowing me to share my work. Greatly appreciate it. I think, as I said before in the group, I'm originally from Cuba, came to the States when I was about 7 years old. I've lived here in Miami all my life. I've always loved photography. Bought my first camera in the 1970s. It was a Mamiya, a DSLR. I don't even remember what was the model number, but I just started taking pictures, just taking pictures of the family, vacation. I really didn't have any specific subject matter of interest. I then, graduated from high school. I married very young, had my kids very young. So I concentrated on raising a family and getting a career. And I went away to University of Florida, got my degree. And then, I really put photography aside, built my career. And, but I always loved photography. I never had one single class, formal class in photography. The only class that I ever had in photography was at a local community college. I did a course on developing film, which that was back in the analog days. And really, I never used it because I never processed any of my film. So that's basically the only class I've ever had in photography. I'm self-taught, YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube on post-production. Then in 2018, I bought the Nikon Z7, which is an amazing camera, the mirrorless camera. And then I also bought a Sony. And again, I got bitten by the bug and I started doing more photography then. But then I switched to medium format, and all of a sudden I just had this interest in architecture photography or the urban landscape. How that happened was basically I live about, the reference points would be South Beach in Miami, and I live about a 35-minute drive from South Beach. My office is in a area of Miami called Coral Gables, which is a beautiful, beautiful area, very residential, but it does have a downtown, kind of a small downtown area. It's very well kept, beautiful. The buildings are just kind of the old style building, but with a contemporary edge to it. So I'm an early riser, get up very early in the morning to head over to the office. Most of my photography is done between the hours of about, I would say, 7 o'clock in the morning to 8:30 in the morning. That's about 95% of my photography is done during that time. I love that morning, that light morning sunrise. It's really beautiful. It creates a lot of stark between light and shadow, but at the same time, some mornings it's just a very soft glow, very nice warm light. And it does amazing on the structures around the Coral Gables area in Miami. It's just beautiful. If you look at my website, a lot of my photography at first is Coral Gables. If you're looking at the screen, this is all the Coral Gables area right here. And the light in the morning is just amazing in that area of town. Most of these pictures, I would say 90%, 85 to 90% of these pictures are taken actually right out of my car. I don't even get out of the car. My steering wheel does a great job as my tripod many times. I have a 21 millimeter that I love. I love that wide angle perspective on that lens. The lens is amazing. And I shoot manual most of the time. I do shoot mostly manual, but also I do a lot of aperture priority, since obviously the type of photography that I do, I need the picture to be sharp from nearby to far. So the depth of field has to be very wide. And that's why I do a lot of also aperture priority in my photography. The scouting that I do in my photography, again, is just basically what I do is a lot of times when I'm riding around, I take mental notes of certain areas that I like, certain buildings that I like. I make a mental note of it, and then I can picture and I can make a mental note. And the next time that I go to the area, and I drive usually around the morning time, then I know exactly what I'm looking for in the image because I've already made a mental note of it. Lately, what I've also been doing is Sunday morning, I get up very early in the morning before sunrise and head over to a certain area in town. There's an area here called Brickell, which these pictures are from mostly. This is the financial district in Brickell in Miami, downtown Miami. And in this particular time, this particular picture right here, there was not this one, there was a marathon going on. So it allowed me to, the streets were blocked off for traffic. So it allowed me to get really under, the buildings and right in front in the middle of the street, which allowed amazing perspective from the 21 millimeter. This is in the Gables area. And again, if you see, it is very early in the morning, even though it doesn't look like it, you don't see anybody around. I mean, it's really, really very early in the morning, so you hardly see anyone around. So it allows me to really experiment and concentrate on the buildings. This is in the Brickell area also. And then I'll explain about the post, how I get these colors and how I get the how I work on I work strictly on Lightroom and about 80% Lightroom, and the rest I do in Photoshop. I'm new to the post production. I experiment. I'm very good friends with the undo button, with the reset button, because that's what I do. I experiment with my photography. My photography, I try to make it give it more of an angle of an art than really architecture photography. Dave was the one who really suggested the name of the urban landscape, the art of the urban landscape. And I thought that was a great it really described the type of photography that I do. This is in the causeway between Miami Beach going back to the city to the mainland. This was taken right out of my car. I was just driving and I took this picture. And again, I take most of my pictures right out of my car. I don't even get out of the car. This picture is, I did this reason, there's a new hospital. There's a branch of the Jackson Memorial Hospital here in Miami, which they've done an incredible job with this building. And this one is another one of from the Jackson Memorial Hospital. And it's just a beautiful structure. The light in the morning is just hitting it from the east, and it really accentuates all the curves and all the angles of these amazing buildings. I think I was attracted to the urban landscape. At some point, I actually thought about becoming an architect. And I actually had taken a couple of architecture lessons, and then I found out really quickly that it wasn't for me. But I guess I still have that love for the structures of these amazing buildings. And again, I shoot, as you can see, I shoot wide angle most of the time, like 21 millimeter. I'm very well aware of the rules of composition, the rules of third and all that, but I guess subconsciously I must use them. I've been told, you have a good eye, the composition is good. The best way that I can describe the way I compose my images is that I consider a well-composed image being the best way that I can describe it is a balanced image. When I bring the eye level to my eye and I look, I move it around, and when I feel that it's a well-balanced image where the subject, the main subject that I'm going for versus with the other elements in the image, they just feel well-balanced, that's when I take the picture. So again, I'm aware of the rule of thirds and all that, and I'm not sure that in my type of photography it applies that much, because you have a lot of, what I'm going for is mostly the angles. I'm going for the perspective of looking at the building from down up. Again, I am not very technical when it comes to photography. I just, I guess, it's more from just what attracts me at the moment on the image. Now, what I've learned, and I saw someone explain this in YouTube, and I don't take credit for this. I heard someone talk about this, and I think that I'm doing and I'm getting better at this, is that in photography, you have the image, you have the side, you look at the image, but you have to have a vision for your image. And obviously that gets more applied in post. But I'm getting a lot better at being able to look at an image and see the potential of that image, what I can do with it. And I'll get a little bit more of that when I discuss the post part. But what I do in my images is that I enhance the light a lot with the radial gradients in Lightroom. And I also sometimes I do add lights, and I'll give you an example. For example, in this image here, let me see this image. Oh, sorry about that. Let me see how I can get back in there. In this image, which is the Jackson Memorial Hospital, the new branch. Certainly the light in this area here was just natural. I did enhance it a little bit, but this area over here, this is a radial gradient here used in Lightroom, and it has to be very subtle. It has to be used very subtle, because you don't want to overdo it. I mean, but I do enhance my light, the light that is coming in the image, and I also do add more light also in the certain areas that I think that the image needs it. I've also been experimenting a little bit with a little bit of ray of light. If you look at this image, this is in sunny Isle Beach, Florida. On a Sunday morning, it was just a beautiful Sunday morning. And I did enhance, obviously, and I'll get into the whole, how I get the colors. But I was experimenting a little bit with a ray of light here, and I thought it would add to the image, because this building here was lit that morning, and I thought a little bit of a reflection on the sky would just work really well. And that's something that I'm experimenting with, and I have to remind myself that you can overdo it a little bit. but if you keep it subtle, I think it really does work in these type of images. This image is also from the hospital. Kind of to me looked like a UFO at one point. It has, and I did enhance this area here. I love the curve here, and I did enhance it with a radial gradient again from Lightroom. But the light in this case was really hitting the building in this angle. I don't crop a lot of my images. I would say that most of my images are just the way they look. I rarely do crop. I do use cropping sometimes, for example, to get rid of something that I don't like on the edges of the image. But other than that, I don't use cropping a lot, for example, for compositional purposes or anything like that. This is another image that I was experimenting. I think this has the ray. It was a little bit that I wanted to add in there because I thought it would just add some interest to the image. I love I love color. As you can see, I really love to bring out colors in my image. This is a picture of in downtown Miami. And just where the angle where I was at, the main building, the one in the back, was just right in the middle of that. And I thought it was a very, very interesting composition. I definitely enhanced the light on the red on this side of the image, and I'll go and I'll show you when we talk about a little bit on post-production what I do. This was taken in let me see what happened here. Hold on. I don't know why it's not coming up. Oh, there it is. This image was taken as I was standing in line at Universal Studios to get into the Spider-Man ride with my grandkids. And it was very early morning and the sun was just hitting this building. And it was just really bringing out the colors. I did bring out a lot more of the colors, obviously, in post. But I thought that the whole interaction between shapes and colors really, really just brought this image up. This is one of my favorite images that I've taken, which this image that I just show you, also, this is the same building. It's just another section of the building. Let me see if it comes up. But as you can see, it just has the same colors and the same shape. And it was just the way that the sun was hitting it and the shadows it was really captivating for me, the whole shapes and colors that it was forming. This is another one from the same building. It's just in another angle. As the line was moving, as I was getting into the ride, I was taking different pictures of different angles. And again, I do enhance, if you can see this right side of the image, this is enhancement here in Lightroom. And I'll show you what I do with that, but it's all about the gradient tool. This is an area in Coral Gables, very early in the morning. Also, this building is just incredible. They just finished this building as the residences and also businesses, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful building in the Coral Gables area. What I do is I use a lot of the Select Sky tool in Lightroom, and I tend to darken my skies a lot, just to bring a lot to really accentuate the subject matter and really bring it out. If the sky really is not giving me anything, if you look at most of my images, you're not going to see puffy white clouds. They're just not part of I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. It just, to me, it doesn't go with my style. I like more of a solid sky, and I always try to keep the sky on the darker side. So again, it'll just bring out more of the subject matter of the buildings and the structure. This is an image that I thought this is just one area of a building that is right in downtown Miami. And I thought that was, when I did this image, it looked kind of weird to me, but at the same time, there was something about it with the curves and the tones and the light, the way it was hitting, and that it was really, it just attracted me to do that. the perspectives of my pictures, if you look at pictures like this is obviously because of the 21 millimeter, it just creates that wide angle and that look. I know that, a lot of architectural photography, if it is going to be used for, a purpose of architecture, which it is to sell property or to display it for potential sales. I mean, you need those perfect lines to be straight and all that. That's not the purpose of my photography. That's why I don't consider it architectural photography. I think it's more of an urban landscape that I do. So to have this, in a way, a little bit of distortion on the image, to me, I personally like that, and I think it works for these images versus just the straight lines of the image. So, for example, in these buildings, it's the same thing. These buildings are very, there's the perspective of just looking up to the building and having the building not be in any way straight or anything. I like that look. I like that look that gives it some sort of an impact to the image, and that's what I usually go for. There's an image here that I took. This is Savannah, Georgia, when I went to Savannah, Georgia the last time. And I thought the reason that I display this image is because if you look really close, and there are these faces in here that I didn't even notice when I was taking the image, that I was capturing it. It was in post-production where these faces came up, and I thought they were really, really interesting. So what I do is when I take, and let me go to Lightroom. This image, this is in the Brickell area in Miami, and I chose, it may not be the best composed image and all that, but I chose this because I want to go through what I do now. I don't know if I can access these panels here because I see the faces in there, and I'm trying to get to
we don't see your Lightroom. You might have to hit share screen again and then choose the Lightroom thing.
Let's see.
Maybe Bruce, you could help
Yeah,
them.
stop, maybe hit the stop share and then go back into share
Stop.
screen. And
Yeah,
then
sometimes when you're
Okay,
changing
so-
over programs.
Again,
right.
okay, so it's stop share.
Stop share and then hit share screen again. And then when it pulls up, when it shows you all of your choices, pick the one that is the Lightroom, that shows Lightroom on it. If you have Lightroom open.
Yeah, I do.
So you should be able to click on that one, and then that should share the Lightroom to us.
Hold on. Okay, can you see it?
No, it hasn't come up yet.
Okay, I
You had
see
shared,
my-
so then you hit share again, and then
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be if you hit that green button down on the bottom again, share screen again. Like
Yeah, but
after
that has now
back
disappeared.
in there.
Hold on. Okay, hold on one second. Let me,
sure.
no?
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. Hold on. Lightroom Classic.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, I'll put it down. Can you guys see it? Can you see the
No, we just see you. So try. Let's see, and
hold
you
on,
are
share
still.
screen.
You're still, yeah. Share screen, and then it should show you like several little boxes.
Right. It shows me desktop one, which is where I am. Then like, oh, wait a minute. I have to, okay, hold on.
Yeah, you have to pick. There we go. Now
you
we
see-
can
there
see
you go.
Lightroom. Yep. Now
Yeah,
we see
but it doesn't allow me to go in. Oh, can I move? Let me see if I can move this. Oh, got it. All right.
You should be able to do everything now.
Okay. There we go. So can you guys see the image?
We can see the image, and we see the develop module on the right hand side. So
Okay.
we're looking at your Lightroom Classic screen.
Okay. So can you see my Lightroom?
Yeah, we see the tone curve and all that stuff. So
Okay. So this image, I mean, it may not be the best image, but I wanted to bring it out because I want to show you what I do to an image like this. I don't have a structured post-production. I don't. I experiment a lot with my images, but I do start, I don't have, I know some people start from the top down. I don't do that. What I do, for example, in an image like this, I obviously, the first thing that I would do is I would try to clean up the, anything that for example, this area here, I'll clean it up in Lightroom. And then one of the first things that I would do here in this image is maybe I'll just line up a little bit. And then I will, again, I will select the sky. And then I will darken the sky because I always darken the skies to bring attraction to the subject. Then I will select the sky again, and there may be a better way to do this, guys. I am no expert at Lightroom whatsoever. So if you can do this better and there are other ways, more power to you. But what I do is I select sky again, and then I invert it, and I'll select the actual, I don't know why I didn't invert this time. Let me see.
You picked a radial gradient instead of the sky again.
Oh, okay, got it. Thanks. It's like sky. Then I will try to bring up a little bit of the subject. Now
It looks like you didn't invert it. It didn't take the checkbox on that one.
yeah, it did. Hold on one second. So am I in the sky here? Hold on, let me just start again. Hold on.
When all else fails, start over.
There you go. So, okay. So, well,
Nope.
that's the sky. Hold on, guys. Hold on.
Sure, no
Select
problem.
sky. Select the sky. Come on. Okay, and then I invert it. Now we're talking. Okay. So I'll just line up this here. Not too much. Okay. Now, what I do is I have used presets, and I know a lot of people get, the bad rap about presets. I've always considered presets. If you think about photographers, and I also heard this, and I thought it was very interesting. If you hear about photographers such as Stephen McMurray, and he used Kodachrome all the time to bring warmth to his images, and that's kind of an analog preset if you really think about it. So I have a preset that I did. Let me see where I find it. If I move this from here, and this is the preset that gets me this color. Okay, and then what I do is I go to the eyedropper and I look for a blue because I don't like it all that blue. And what I do is the eyedropper, and that's what changes the color. And then I start fooling around with the colors. A little bit of more magenta. There were more warmth. Put down the whites a little bit there. Okay. Now what I could do also is I use the radial gradient here. For example, down here. And I bring that out, and I always follow a radial gradient with a little bit of clarity to give it a little bit of punch. This tower right here, I can also use, and I'll show you what I do in Photoshop after. I will also do a radial gradient just to bring some attention to that part of the picture. Not too much, just a little bit. And I always follow it up with clarity. That's what I do. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to Photoshop. And
By the way, Ed, as that's trying to go to Photoshop, there was a question about, do you make your own presets? And if you,
I'll talk about that right now. Let me just get to Photoshop, and I'm going to finish this, and I'll hold on. Here he goes. What I do in Photoshop is I'll add an adjustment level to it, so it can bring in a little bit more punch into the image. And then what I do is I use this tool, I call it the polygon tool. And I'm going to do it really quick because it takes time to do a good selection. Hold on. For example, if I look at this area over here, that I think it needs a little bit more bringing it up a little bit, I select it. And then I go and I apply an adjustment layer very carefully to bring out, oh, hold on, that area. See what it did? It just pops it out.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, not much. Then I do the same thing. I'm gonna do the same thing. What happened here? My computer's on top. Okay. And again, these selections take time if you want to do them really very accurate. I'm just doing it really quick right here. Hold on. Gotta be careful with that. And I select this. And then I do the same thing. I apply an adjustment layer to bring that out. Give it a little bit of punch. And then I'm gonna do this area over here, do the same thing. And I also like to do the middle one here. But again, I'm doing this just really quick. These selections, you really need to take your time with these to make sure that they're as accurate as possible. But I just wanted to show you that that's what I do. I choose certain areas of my image that I want to bring up. And that's what it looks like. That's what it starts. Now, in this one, obviously I would get rid of this palm tree over here, up here. Oh, wait. Oh, did I choose the correct one? Yeah. That's not it. I'll try to get rid of the palm tree over here. It's distracting to me, so I don't want to. And I mean, you can do more stuff to the image if you want, but I'm thinking happy with that. So I mean, you can even bring a little bit more of a. So you have the image, it went from something like this. That was to this image. But again, it's all using, different gradient gradients and things like that in Photoshop and in Lightroom. Now, as far as the presets, I did buy some presets from, I don't know if you heard of Joe D'Agostino from New Jersey. You ever heard of seen his work?
I personally have not, but
Okay. I don't use a preset like you. I don't use it as an end result. And again, I did change my. See, I did this one. This is my preset that I use also. So I change it around, and I don't use it as an end result. I use it as a beginning, and work around and change the the image, the color of the image by using the eyedropper and all that, and just emphasizing the different areas of the image that I like. So, but that's how I don't have any set post-production. Let me see if I find another image here that I was work on. These are some of the shots that I took. Let me see if this one was it. Yeah, this is another image. It may not be a very well composed image, but I just wanted to show you what I do on an image like this. Obviously, the first thing that I'm gonna do in this image is just crop it because this here is just bothering me, and even this car here is a little bit too much, and maybe we can just crop it a little bit in here. I would just bring up a little bit of the exposure. Then I would apply the preset. And then go to the eyedropper and look for a blue area of the picture to bring out the colors. And then work again, go to the select sky. Bring that exposure to that sky. Then what I would do in a case like this would be go to a radial gradient and this building here. Just bring it up a little bit. Follow it with clarity. I would probably duplicate this and bring it to this one here. Close it up a little bit. And just apply the clarity again. Bring up a little bit of the exposure.
So Ed, there is a question here in the chat room. Who again
Okay.
was that photographer's presets? Joe somebody?
I'll give you his name. Let me just. I'll just do a gradient here. Bring out the bottom part here of the picture. Give it a little bit more balance. And then I'll just take this to Photoshop and basically do the same thing on the other one that I did on the other one. Let me see.
I think I found his website, so I
Yeah,
put it-
his name is Joe D'Agostino.
and I checked, put a link in the chat. Is it like JD Kodachrome?
I use this, and I'll tell you exactly which one is the one that I use from him is Street Tones.
Okay, there it is. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so
what
I put a link to his website in the chat for everybody.
You know, I will work a little bit more on the contrast in this. Oh, let me see, wait. I mean, that's basically what I do to my pictures. It's nothing. I don't take that much time. I'd rather just do it as quickly as I can with the result that I want. Obviously, some images do take a little bit more than others, but that's basically what I do. I enhance the light with a lot of the radial gradients. I do the select sky, as you can see. And in Photoshop, what I do is I just do an adjustment layer. And always one of the things that works for me is that when I do apply a radial gradient in Lightroom, I always follow with clarity, because a radial gradient tends to flatten the area a little bit by enhancing it, by bringing out the light, where when you add clarity, it gives it a little bit of punch in the area. I always, when I apply any type of preset, I use the eyedropper and I look for not too much of a blue area, a light blue area. So when you click it and it adjusts, try to adjust the white balance, it gives it that warm look to the picture. But I do always, after that, after applying the preset, I do always enhance the colors. Sometimes I go into the hue, saturation, and luminance sliders, and I work around it, because the preset does not necessarily work with every image. It really doesn't. Some images do need a little bit more tweaking than others. Sometimes the presets work really well with the images, but sometimes it doesn't. So, but you know, you can work around that with the color adjustments. So,
I've got a question for you.
yeah,
I see you're using the radial gradient in Lightroom and
right.
popping out certain buildings. And then additionally, you were doing the selection tool in Photoshop. So how do you decide in your mind,
Good question.
which of the two treatments that are kind of similar?
I don't know. Some in Photoshop, if I want to enhance a certain area of the image, I use the what is that called? I call it the P tool, the polygonal. Is that lasso?
Yeah, polygonal lasso.
Polygon one, right.
I don't. That's a very good question. I don't know. Sometimes I use it in some areas of the image. Sometimes I use the radial gradient. I use radial gradient a lot in Lightroom. I use it a lot. But in Photoshop, I also the lasso tool. So I don't know. That's a good question. It all depends on the image. It all depends on the area of the image. Like I just worked on this image. And that one I used the lasso tool for this part here and here also in Photoshop. But that's a good question. I don't know. There's no set rule for it. It all depends on what I see and I use it. So
There's also a question here in the chat. Do you try to eliminate vehicles in Photoshop, or you're more dependent upon your
I'm going to be very honest with you. I would not even know how to do that. I don't know how to remove anything on Photoshop. I take my pictures so early in the morning that there's hardly any traffic, and I intentionally avoid that. For example, this is downtown Miami. This was Tuesday. It was Monday. I think it was Monday or yesterday. I don't remember. So it's very early in the morning and you don't see any traffic. And this is downtown Miami. This is a very, very busy time of the area of the town. But this was taken probably was 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning. So it's very early in the morning when I take my pictures. And I do avoid, traffic. I avoid cars. There's hardly anybody in the streets. And like in this case, obviously there are vehicles in the street, but most of the time they're not. So yeah, I mean, this is downtown Miami also early in the morning, the same day. As you can see, I was taking it out of my car so you can see the reflections. This is all downtown Miami in the morning. And yeah, I mean, this is the Miami Arena where the Heat play.
You certainly have an artistic eye on your composition. I'm just amazed that you're able.
Is that 21 millimeter? I tell you that lens is just. See, there's some blurred person there. So, yeah, that 21 millimeter. I love that. I love that the perspective that lens gives me. It really does. I love it. I love that. That's.
I was going to bring up.
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I didn't mean to interrupt. What I was going to do is share with the others in that I looked it up, and the 21 millimeter, that's your medium format, right, on your Hasselblad?
Correct.
That would be the equivalent of 17 millimeter for those
Correct.
of us that
it's this one. It's this lens right here. It's a 21 millimeter, and it is a 17 millimeter equivalent. So it gives that wide perspective, and there is some distortion. I mean, no doubt about it. But I think it adds to the look of the image. I really do think it does. So that's something that I'm not worried about. It's fine. I like that. I like that look. I like that look of my images. And again, these are not for, sales purpose of architecture. As a matter of fact, I had an architect, I received an email last week. First time ever that I had received an email through my website. And I thought it was a scam at first. And it's an architecture firm here in Miami, and I researched them. They do have an office also in New York. And they said, we want to hire you to take pictures of our projects. And I said, listen, can I call you? And I called him, and the first thing I asked, I said, have you looked at my images? He said, yeah, I looked at, that's how I got to you. I saw your your feed on Instagram, and I said, how are you planning to use the images that I take? He said, no, they're going to be hanging in our conference room. We want to hang them in. It's not, and I said, it's not because it's color accuracy important to you. He said, no, because I said, look at my images, and they're not what you call architectural photography for sale. You know, in other words, to sell buildings or structures, because the way they're shot, the perspective and the colors, and that's what they like. So,
Well, I can certainly understand them wanting to make their architecture into art.
right.
Yeah.
So that's what he said. You know, that's what they want to do. Even though he sent me the address to a property that he wants me to shoot, and it's residential. It's a house. So anyway, we'll see how it works. But
I don't know if it's possible to go back to Lightroom and the develop module on one of
Yes.
the ones you've run a
hold on.
preset on already.
Which one?
It doesn't matter. Just one that you could be one that you've already shown us. How about that one? Or the one that was just next to it on the left?
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's probably a finalized image. I was just wondering if in Lightroom it showed if you could scroll down.
Show the
See what
steps.
that preset was doing, like the tone curve.
I don't know what the preset is doing. I mean, I know what you're saying. For example, you're saying that if I take an image to the develop module and I hit here, is that what you're saying? To give me the steps of what I've done to the image?
So
This image is not even finished. I mean, that's another thing. That's something else that I do. I start working on an image, and if it's not doing anything for me, I put it aside and I come back to it.
So on this particular image, Ed, have you hit the preset already?
I haven't done much to this image. Let's see. I did the sky here. See, the sky I worked a little bit on the sky.
But I'm just wondering, have you hit the JD preset on this one yet?
Oh, I don't know. Let me see. Let me see if hold on.
Or put another way, like if you had like a raw image up that hasn't been touched
Yeah, let me look. I'll hit the reset. I'll hit this. This is what it looks like. Okay. I just hit the reset button.
So then now I
would do it over to the preset. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, go to the preset and hit the preset.
Here.
Yes.
See what it does? So
okay, now go over to the right-hand side in your develop module. Okay. And can you scroll down? Like, yeah, right there, the tone curve. Those three boxes.
Right.
Yeah, you can see how they've made.
Yeah. You certainly can see the sliders and all that, what it's done.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of curious to see what it was doing.
Yeah. I mean, in the midtones, it's not doing much, but in the shadows and the highlights, specifically the highlights, it's going more towards the yellow, in here. But what I do is I never leave I really don't care for this preset like this. So again, I use it as a starting point, and then I look for a blue area, not so blue, because the more blue, see what it does? It turns it, and then I start playing with the colors. You see, that's what I do. And then I start lightening it up and working on the exposure of the image by selecting the sky. In this case, I would select the sky, bring it down, and then I would select the sky, and then I would wait till it's selected. I would invert. Sometimes it doesn't, you have, you can subtract the areas.
Sure.
And then I would bring up the, do some clarity. Then I would go to the radio gradient here. And on the bottom, what I may do in this one is follow the pattern of the street. bring up that street. Follow with clarity. Then to give it more punch, I'll take it to Photoshop. I think Photoshop, the adjustment layers does a much better job in the light and the dark and the image, the contrast of the image. And what I do is if I take it to Photoshop, I'll do an adjustment layer, levels adjustment layer to pop it up more. And then what I may do in this one is lasso tool. You have to be careful with this because the select sky did not do a very good job on this one. I would have subtracted some. I'm just, for time's sake, then what I would do is do the selection, doing another adjustment layer to bring that up, to bring this building up a little bit, see? And just give it a little bit more punch. I may do the same thing in this building here. And again, these selections have to be more accurate. I'm just doing it for sake of time. I would even, yeah. I may even do a little bit in here. See how it works. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And again, that's what's so great about the undo button. That you can just start enhancing certain areas of the image by using that. So that's what it starts looking like.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, you're obviously kind of doing a dodging and a burning.
Exactly. That really is what it is. I mean, so yeah, that's how I do it doesn't take that much. I mean, the preset works well, at least to give me the look that I want, and then I start tweaking the colors, and then I start enhancing certain areas of the image.
Yeah.
This is another one that I did from the same area in downtown Miami.
So I don't know, Bruce, if you want to try to unshare Ed and go to full screen with everybody and everybody can ask questions. There's a few questions in here about, obviously you're using your car as a tripod, but they're wondering, like what kind of shutter speed do you think it's taking it at? And are you actually going through the windshield of your car? And
for example, in this photography, this photo, I was going through the outside of my car because it's on the side. I know exactly where I am. I'm heading east. And so that, let me see. This is definitely the windshield. No doubt about it. This is in my car. I'm driving east on 8th Street, heading to Brickell, and I just shot it right from inside the car. This is through my windshield. The other images from downtown Miami, they're not here. They're another. That I got out and I didn't use a tripod. The only time that I remember using, the last time I used a tripod was for the image of the pier in Sunny Isle, which is a long exposure, which was about a 5.5 minute exposure that I did. It's on my website. That's the last time I remember using a tripod.
that last one that you showed, it says it's at a 1/45th of a second.
Which one is it?
That one, it looked like it was a building with a.
Yeah. Yeah, these were all, I did get out of my car on this one. These I did. I remember parking on the side and getting out and doing these here. but the other ones, this was windshield, probably, yeah, right through the windshield because I'm in the car. Yep.
We have one of our members saying he could never do that because his windshield is only
You gotta keep it
once a
clean,
year.
and there's always Photoshop. I always get a little, and Photoshopping. You can do that. And a lot of these areas they'll hide them. And listen, in an image like this, your windshield still gonna hide it. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on in that image. Yeah.
We do have some questions. So while you're doing that, I'll ask a few questions for you.
Sure.
So one of them, the question was, they would love to hear about what you look for besides contrast. What areas do you like to highlight in one of your images? I mean, you obviously showed some of the stuff, but are there other specific areas as you're looking at an image, or when you take an image, you're like, oh, I'll take this image because this area and this area I'm gonna enhance or modify?
And I think I touched on that before. It's the difference between, seeing the image and having a vision for the image, the
Okay.
potential of the image.
So it's kind of, I guess you would say.
I'm getting better at that. I'm getting better at being able to look at an image and say, okay, this is an area that, I can work on this. I can bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly that's the way I'm getting better at that. Before though, I just take the picture because I liked what I saw through my viewfinder. I like the perspective of the lens gives me. The light in the morning is just beautiful. These buildings in the morning, the light is coming up, but yet their lights are on, and the contrast between the cool, the blue versus the warmth of these lights, it's amazing. So I look at that, and yes, now I'm beginning to be able to say, yeah, I'll be able to enhance this area, and I'll be able to accentuate this part of the image. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Then another question was, with the low light, no tripod, is there a specific shutter speed you try to stay within?
Listen, let me show you something though. Now that you say that, look, a lot of these images up here they're all blurry as hell. Look at this. See that? I mean,
Yep.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it just look at. There are a lot of images in here. Look at this. Then it's blurry because it happens. I mean, I'm in my car, I'm moving. There's another one. Look at this. So, I try. This camera works amazing in low light, so I'm able to put it on a high ISO. I do. This is some of these are 32, and they do. It works great. Here's an example of, you see the reflection from shooting from the windshield. This is all stuff inside my car. The light in my car and all that inside. Sometimes I have my phone and the phone comes on and you can see it in the picture because it gets reflected from the windshield. And this picture is out of focus, obviously. So sometimes it does work. Most of the time I try to really anchor it either on the steering wheel or on the dashboard. But sometimes it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Now, at this time of the morning, you have to understand there's not a lot of traffic. So I have the ability to sometimes actually stop in the middle of the street. I make sure that nobody's coming and take the picture. So I can keep it as still as possible. Yeah. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it just does not work.
Yeah, and you are using your Hasselblad to use on most of these images are all the Hasselblad, correct?
These are all Hasselblad. Yeah.
Okay.
These are all Hasselblad images.
So, and I guess with that, as Dave said, is if anyone on the call wants to unmute themselves, ask a question rather than use the chat, feel free to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question here real quick. Is in looking at, and this also has to do with the camera settings and that. I think you mentioned earlier that most of the shots you're doing aperture priority, and like you said, you're getting high ISO, but they don't appear to have a lot of noise in them.
They don't.
But then when I look at a couple of these, it's like f4, so you're using a fairly wide open.
Because
aperture.
that is but this lens is so sharp from edge to edge that it allows me to use the f4. Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my, I guess, not a question that says much as a comment, but a lot of times if I'm thinking, aperture f4, depth of field is fairly shallow, but these ones, even when you can see like from, front to back, it looks very tack sharp all the way
They
through
do.
there. So
They really, this lens in particular, this 21 millimeter is amazing. It really is an incredible lens. And it is f4. I mean, I think the fastest lens I have from Hasselblad is the 80 millimeter, which is 1.9. But other than that, the other lenses are they're both f4. The 45 that I have and the 21, they're f4, both of them.
It is interesting that lenses, just in general, when you're going to wider and wider angle, they will be more in focus, or the apparent focus is greater at those type of wide open f-stops. So you're using that lens really correctly, I guess.
Look, let me show you. This is, you can see the hood of my car in this. See the hood right there? That's the hood of my car right there. There's another one that I had taken that you can see clearly the hood of my car that I had to crop. Here. That's the hood of my car right there. Let me see. I think this one here, you can, here, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See the hood right there? So
where do you put your focal point?
in a building, but I recompose. I really do that. I do that a lot. I may just put the focus point on that building and still, lock my focus and then just recompose. Right. I do that.
You
Are
also
you-
said you had that sun ray, that ray that you put in. How did you do that?
The what?
The ray, that light ray that you had on the building that you showed earlier?
The light ray. I don't.
So you had a couple photos where in the sky you had a bright line.
Okay, hold on. Let me go to do you mean this right in this?
Yes.
How do I do it? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, why don't you show?
How do I do that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. I'll go to Lightroom. Let's say that I want to do it on, let's see. Let me just pick an image here. The one that I just worked on. Where is that? Jeez. Hold on. Where's that one that I finished? That I was showing you guys before. Okay, let's say that I want to do it in this, okay? What I do is, let me go to the develop module. I go to the gradient tool. Radial gradient, my friend, this is my friend. Now, again, you have to be subtle with this because sometimes it works better than other times, okay? And always follow it with the clarity. And then you can start just placing it wherever you think is going to work. I mean, I'm just giving you an example so you see how I do it. But this is how I do it. Now, it may not work in here, but it shows the how I do it. See that?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That is nice and easy.
Yeah, it's very easy.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm telling you, this radial gradient is my best friend. It's incredible. It really is. Now, I'm sure there's a way of doing this in Photoshop. Don't ask me how to do that because I don't know how to apply that. I would not know how to do that in Photoshop, but I'm sure there's a way of doing it. But I've always done it. I've always used Lightroom. And now, if you want to change the temperature of that, obviously you just select it again, and then you can go and then change a little bit of the, see, you change the temperature to match whatever color light you have there. And if that it's a little bit too much, so you can certainly select it again and do it less, or if you want to, you can make it a little bit wider.
Well, Ed, you're definitely the.
Which is what I'm sorry, which is what I did in this, I did it in this image. If you see it in here. But what I wanted to do is see, I had the light, so I want to kind of like keep it in there. So, but I did that. I used the radial gradient in that image. And in this light here of the curve, I definitely, that's another radial. Let me see if I can, if it has all the steps on this. No, it doesn't. Oh, no, it doesn't. But I enhanced that also, you know. But yeah, the radial gradient is a great tool. It's just a fantastic tool. And it's very easy to use. Like, very easy to use.
You seem to be the master of directing the eye with these little pops of light from that radial gradient.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what the radial gradient is all about. You know, you can focus your viewer's eye at a point where you want them to first to focus on your image. And it's, again, it's a very easy tool to use. Very, very easy to use.
Are you getting the great depth of field by paying attention to hyperfocal distance, or are you just scanning the image through the viewfinder? And
I'm wondering if, and again, I'm not very technical. I'm not. I'm wondering if it has anything to do with the size of the sensor. It may have something to do with that it allows that much depth of field even at wide open. I don't know. But the images, you can see that the images are extremely sharp from even in wide open. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe it has something, it's something technical. I don't know. I shoot the image and it works.
Joe,
Yeah.
you just need to buy a Hasselblad. That's what it comes down to.
No, you know, I got to tell you, again, and it's not like we said at the beginning. It's not the camera. I get that. I really do believe that a camera that inspires you to pick it up and use it more, to me, it's a better camera because it makes me want to shoot more. And I think it makes me, once you shoot more, you get into that adrenaline that you want to do better and get better, you become a better photographer. I really do believe that. Now, it's a better, an expensive or better camera going to make you take amazing pictures? No, it's not. It's not going to do that. You can get a great photographer and give it a cheap camera, and it's going to get great photography and great images. But if the camera inspires you to do better and to use it more, then I think it's a better, yeah, I guess to a certain extent, you know, the camera may make you a better photographer. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love this camera. I really do. I've owned Nikons and Sonys, and they're amazing, amazing cameras. The Sonys are incredible cameras. I've never had a camera that produces images right out. I mean, these images are right out of the camera. I haven't touched this image. You know, and it's a high ISO. I mean, it's 3200 ISO. You know, at 4.0, 1/10 of a second, and it's amazing. It really is. The color science. I'm standing there and I'm looking at it. That is what I saw. The color is just very accurate, very, very accurate. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Okay.
I came in a little late, so maybe I missed this information, so forgive me. So I'm fascinated with the idea of shooting from the car with a medium format camera, you know, and rolling at the same time. That's really kind of cool. I've never done some stuff like that with a 35mm camera in a passenger seat strapped.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do shoot from inside my car, but that doesn't mean that, you know, it's the car is, you know, I mean, again, it's the time of day that I take the pictures. I have the advantage of not having traffic, very little traffic. Coral Gables is a very residential area, so you don't have a lot of traffic, such as the, the highways and the roads that go from maybe towards downtown Miami at that time. So I have the advantage of that. So I do slow down. I even come to a stop, but I do not get out of the car. Most of the time, I'm not getting out of the car. I don't.
So,
Right.
yeah, so my question is, what I was meaning to ask is it about the perspective, being in the middle of the street, so you get a perspective of the view?
It has a lot to do with that. I did mention before that when I did these pictures here,
You can only be achieved if you're in
like
the
this
middle of the
one,
street. I
this
guess, right?
picture right here, there was there was a race going on in Miami that morning. I think it was a marathon or something, and the streets were blocked off to traffic. And it allowed me to stand in the middle of the street and look up, and yes, it is the whole thing is just, I love that. I really love that perspective of looking up and seeing the structure and then playing around with the composition.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
So we get to see something so unusual, that makes your photographs, unique. 'Cause, rarely as a pedestrian, we're looking up when we're trying to get across the street, something like that. So I
Right.
think that's really, really great. The other question I
Thanks.
want to ask you, and I don't mean to be gear focused, but I want to ask you, I've traveled through different technology, formats myself, and I never got into, medium format, but I just wondered how did you find yourself to medium format, and what made you stay?
How much you want?
How did you find yourself going to medium format? You talked about having, Sonys and Nikons, and how did you go there
Listen,
and then decide to stay?
there's something, and I mean, I don't know how this is going to sound, but there's something to be said about brand. Okay, I've always thought of Hasselblad like, wow, an amazing camera. I've looked at some images from Hasselblad, and when I looked at them, I saw the detail, the resolution of those images. I saw the dynamic range of those images. And I remember the first time when I got this camera and I took the first picture and I uploaded it and I looked at it on my live view in the back and I go, wow. I remember having that wow moment that I looked at it and I go, oh my God, the dynamic range of this image is incredible. And when I brought it home and I put it in Lightroom, it just doubled it. And I'm attracted to that dynamic range of this camera. I'm attracted to the resolution of this camera. I'm attracted to the simplicity of this camera. This camera, the menu in the back is like you're holding an iPhone. The menu in the back of this Hasselblad, this is what the menu looks like, and it's all, boom, boom. It's touch screen, and it's like
It spoke to you, yeah. I got, yeah.
And you know what this camera made me do? It made me, and again, I'm not knocking Sony and all those cameras. Those cameras are amazing. But I remember when I bought my first Sony, I think it was the A7R4, and I opened the menu. The menu on that camera, it's like I went into a rabbit hole. I didn't even know if I was going to come back.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, right.
And again, amazing. The autofocus on those Sonys they're jaw-dropping, amazing. But this camera made me slow down and really think about taking the picture. I concentrated on, grabbing the picture, and then I didn't have to look at all the menus. And there's certain situations in this camera, because of what I'm doing, that I'm driving, I have put in an auto, and I trust this camera so much that it does an amazing job in auto, even though I shoot most of the time in manual. But I guess, I don't know, it's just the quality of the image, which I think as photographers is the bottom line, right? I mean, we can have the fastest autofocus we can have, but the image quality is what we go after. So,
Well, if you're going to spend your time on it, you want to be able to have good results and
right.
And the resolution and
Right.
and timing to everything right now.
I'm very, very happy with this camera.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah.
But
Thank
again,
you so much for answering my question. Yeah.
I'm sure you can get these images and, and great images and much better images from other cameras. I have no doubt about that. Nikons
Oh,
are
no,
amazing.
yeah,
Canons are, yeah.
I'm, enjoying high resolution, full frame cameras, but I've done particularly well with Micro Four Thirds. So, and so,
Listen,
yeah,
no
and
doubt
so
about
you're
that.
right.
I mean, yeah, the cameras are, they're great cameras out there. Excellent cameras. Canons are amazing,
Yeah, I was just curious about your journey. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm enjoying it. I'm really, really enjoying this. I want to start experimenting now with long exposure. That's my next thing. I bought ND filters that I already did one image that it was is this image here. This was in Sunny Isle. And this image, I used the ND filter, the ND one, I think it was 1000. And this was about, if I remember, the exposure was about a little bit over 5 minutes. And I had never done long exposure, so I started looking in YouTube, how to do it, first you have to compose, make sure you focus, because once you put that filter in there, obviously, you can't see hardly anything. And then I downloaded an app that it's awesome. And the app, what it does is that the first thing you do, what I do is, and what you have to do is take an exposure and see your, the ISO, you have to keep it at 100, obviously. And the aperture is you have to go small so you have a great depth of field. So the factor there, the main, it's the actually the long exposure. So I have this app that I downloaded that it tells you based on your ND filter. In this case, I have 10. Your regular exposure, then it tells you exactly how many minutes. And this app is pretty accurate. This thing is pretty accurate, and I used it for this one. And this was about a little bit over 5 minute exposure, and I was really happy with this. I mean, what it did to the water and everything. Now, this last Sunday, I went out to Matheson Hammocks, which is an oceanside park here, beautiful place, wanting to do this, but it was so windy that it didn't work. It didn't work out. I did one image that I was only happy with that image. Let me see if I can find it. But other than that, I was just here. Let me see if I find the image. No, this is another one that I was doing in black and white. Hold on, let me see. This one. This is the only image that I really kind of liked. But other than that, it was so windy that it just didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me.
You mentioned the app, that you have an app that you're using for the determining the time when you're putting in
A long exposure, yeah.
Is that the Photo Pills app, or is that a different one?
Well, it's funny you say that because I do have Photo Pills. I have Photo Pills also right here. And Photo Pills is good. I don't know, I like these. It's called Lee Stopper, Lee Stopper.
Oh, yeah.
I think it has to do with, I think filters are from that company. I don't know. And this one is awesome because it's very simple. You see your shutter speed, and then you just dial in the filter you're using, whether it's 6 stops, 10, or 15, and then it tells you the equivalent of how long it is. And this one is very accurate. I've used it now a couple of times, and it's very good. This is very good. I think it's free also. So. But this is the only one that I came out with, and I kind of liked, but other than that, it didn't work for me because it was so windy that morning. Beautiful morning. It was Easter morning, actually. It was on Sunday. And but it didn't work for me. But I want to do some night photography also using the ND filter, to get the light streaks and all that from the car. So we'll see. That's my next thing. I want to start experimenting a little bit more.
You might have to bust out the tripod when you do that.
Oh, yeah. No, listen, tripod is definitely, you have to, yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice images. Thanks for
Thank you.
sharing and showing us your technique. It's very helpful.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
actually-
listen, we all learn from each other, and I'm sure you can go ahead and start improving in this. And yeah, but it's fun. It's fun, and it's all experimental. You can undo it at any point. You can hit the reset button if you don't like. And what I do also, I start working on these images sometimes, and if they're not working for me, I put it aside, or I go away, and I come back the next day and see, if it looks better or something has changed. The fresh eye approach. So, yeah.
Yeah, the other
Oh.
comment I had is you'd mentioned earlier in that part of your, I'll say creativity or the art part of it in you is, leaving the buildings slanted. Again, when you're using those wide angle lenses in architecture and that the lines tend to converge and move in. But I like the effect that you've been able to get with those. I know, standard architecture, a lot of times they'll use, say, like a tilt shift lens or something like that to try and
Right.
right in camera. But,
You're right.
Yeah.
You're very right. That's why I don't consider my photography architecture photography, because you're not going to be able to use my photography to sell your property. I mean, it's with the color, the accuracy of the color and all that. It's not, that's not my intent. I want more of an art side to it. Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely inspirational to go out and take and look at some of these buildings and architecture from a different point of view other than just documenting the building.
I agree. And that's what I'm going for. I don't necessarily want to document the building as is. I want to make it a little, more. I want to bring more of a wow factor to the building. Right.
It brings the building to life.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So these are some that I took in South Beach, that I went to Miami Beach one morning. This was not with it. This was with a drone. This is with the drone. This image here that's coming up. But I used the same process, and I don't know what happened to it. I don't know when it's coming up now. But yeah, this right here. This one right here was with the drone, and this one also. So, yeah.
So
It's
I think
fun.
what I'm hearing is we need a road trip to Miami.
And
Yes.
you guys are more than welcome to come down, and we'll go out shooting.
Or
Definitely. We
more
can
like
do
a
that.
field trip, not a road trip, a field trip.
There you go. Listen, I was telling you, my wife, it's very difficult to get her on a plane. So flying is just, for her, it's really bad. So, but I want to go maybe to New York sometime this year, or maybe other cities, and do some shooting up there. I would love to do that. I would definitely love to do that.
You'll put us up when we come down?
Of course. Listen, you can, right here, between the guitars.
I think there's 23 of us.
Yeah.
It's Florida. We can sleep outside on the front lawn.
Well,
There
we'll all
you
bring
go.
sleeping bags and tents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear the story, Ed, of you taking photos out of the back of a taxi in New York City.
Yeah, there you go. That would be interesting. Yeah, I can't wait to. I'm definitely planning a trip to New York this year, God willing. So
Yeah.
looking forward to doing some shooting up there.
By the way,
Yeah.
if you just hit the unshare thing, then we can all go back to a grid thing here and see us all.
How do you do that?
At the
I can do it. I can do it. from
Stop
here.
sharing, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. There you go. I just did
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Very good. Well, and again, we'll record this and I'll post it up on YouTube. And if you've subscribed to our YouTube channel, you'll get notified once it's posted and active. So,
Okay. I think I am subscribed already to your channel.
oh, good, good.
Yeah.
And I
Guys,
know-
thank you for having me. I mean, I've never done this before, present my work to anyone. So much less a peer of my peers of photographers, so it was exciting, but kind of, I was anxious there for a while, but it was nice. It was great. It was great.
it's a great
I really
job.
enjoyed it.
Great job.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was going to say, even before you just brought that up, that never having done the Zoom and screen share and all that, you nailed it for the first time. That was perfect.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, you guys made it easy, so I appreciate that very much. Thank you, guys.
All
And it's
right.
getting late your time, so I don't
It
want to
is.
keep you up anymore.
No, but I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. All right, guys.
All right, have a good night,
Listen,
everybody.
thank you very much and enjoy it and have a great evening. Take care.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you.